Welcome to A Taste of AZ podcast. My name is Luke Irvin, and today we've got an epic episode lined up for you. But before we jump into that, just want to let you guys know real quick, we've got some brand new merchandise up on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 new shirts as well. If you like today's episode, please also leave us a review on your favorite podcast app, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow our email newsletter. With nothing else to say, let's jump into today's episode.
Well, we are here on, 6th Avenue and Roosevelt?
Yep, just south of Roosevelt and north of McKinley.
And just right smack dab in the middle of beautiful. Like, this place is really cool.
It's your first time, right?
It is my first time. This has been one of those places that I like to make a list of things I want to try and stuff like that. And this has been on the list ever since I've discovered it. I think can't remember, it might have been something that you had posted or something, but as soon as I saw it, and I looked at this place through the lens of my wife, right, who I'm all about, if it's barbecue and beer, I'm like, heck yeah. She wants something, just the name garden to her is like, yes, heck yeah.
And I love that it's so unique. There is nothing like this.
This is very unique, yeah.
And it's your aesthetic. Like, I feel like this is Kim also.
Yeah, it's interesting because with my consultancy, Liquid Architecture, I've helped open so many bars around the country, and I wanted to do something that was the antithesis of like the dark and the moody and the leather couches. I wanted to do something that was the opposite of that. So light, bright, and fresh, and also to feel like you're going to someone's house to kind of hang out and have a good drink.
Yeah.
And it's a historic building, right?
It is. It was built in 1914. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. We found the place. Just Kevin in 2017 was just driving by and saw a for sale by owner sign, which now never happens. But he saw it and pulled over and asked about it, and they had just put up the sign, and so we bought it, and we initially bought it with the intent of just using it as an office space.
Okay.
So I did that for a little while.
Yeah.
So we had the lab, and I would have clients that coming in, but I knew, you ever walk into a space and it just feels good.
Yeah.
Just the energy, the lighting, everything, it just feels good.
Yep.
And so I knew this would make an amazing bar. And at that time we were experiencing a lot of the growth in downtown. And I just thought this would just be the perfect spot to walk over. It's a great neighborhood bar.
Yeah.
And kind of just take everything that I've learned as a consultant over the past 20 years and apply it to this space where I could be, I could be creative and kind of do some fun and unique things.
Is this your first spot that you've had?
So while I've helped open hundreds of different bars, this is my own brick and mortar space.
Dream, the idea bank has been building up for years.
Yeah.
You can put them into action as long as it fits, right?
Well, I'm used to coming up with ideas for other people,
Yeah.
and for other concepts. So it's fun to be able to do that on my own and see people's reaction to the things that I created, which is fun, which is good.
So do you go unchecked? Nobody, no one says no. And you're just I'm just doing, just kidding. I don't want to do my own thing for whatever. But no, that's incredible. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A little bit of history on the house, and I don't know if you've talked with a lot of other chefs that have historic homes that have built.
I haven't talked to a lot.
Okay.
No.
It's interesting. So we're kind of determined to find, sort of all the missing pieces and parts to the house. And in January, we were contacted by a woman whose great-grandmother lived in this house from the 1940s to the 1970s, which is amazing. And so she was here for a couple of generations. She grew up here as a kid, and then she moved out, and then she got married, had 2 kids. Her husband left her, and she moved back into the house with her parents and her kids, and they had boarders. I mean, it was it was a full house, but the whole family is such a lovely family. They're the Kilroy family, an Irish family. And we hosted their Beryl Kilroy, who's the matriarch of the family. She was turning 96, so we celebrated her birthday and big family reunion here. Arizona Republic did a really nice article, but we created a cocktail inspired by them called Kilroy Was Here. So it's made with Irish whiskey and black tea.
What a story.
Yeah.
And a way to continue their legacy.
Yeah, absolutely. And ironically, they opened up a bed and breakfast. So hey, you want a little more taste of history, go to Garden Bar and have have our cocktail.
Yeah, that's great. And so there's probably so much pride on their side of like, this is really cool. And the memories probably as they're looking at the building and
Yeah, and it was really fun. We walked through the house and they told stories, and one of the brothers was like, "Did you find the tunnel in the back yet?" I'm like, "No."
There's a tunnel?
Yeah, that's what I said. There's a tunnel?
Yeah.
That's where she's going to store bootleg stuff, right?
Oh, there we go. Yes, I like that.
But it was so cool. Like they actually, you really think about how much time has passed. And I guess we took it down when we went through construction, but there was a concrete block in the back, and I never knew what it was for, but it was to get on your horse.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was to get on because they had a lot of horses, so you could step on this block and get on your horse.
So everybody just doesn't hop up like, John Wayne. I thought that's how everybody did it. I'm like, that's impressive. No, that's really cool. And that's a really cool thing that I moved to Arizona from Ohio in 2007, and to kind of see the I won't say revitalization, but like going back to preserving those buildings. That's, me being really into craft beer. There's a lot of that, Mother Road is an old, like, I know Michael, if he's listening, it wasn't a laundromat. It was something, but something like a laundromat. And now it's their tap house, their tap room. It was the original brewery, but it's those original windows, the high glass windows, and it was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but that seems to like be really coming around here in Phoenix, right? I mean,
really nodding to some of the, Phoenix, I mean, relatively speaking, when you look at all the other big cities in the U.S., is a pretty new city.
Yeah.
And so anything that you can do to preserve what we have, I think it's just going to allow us to have a much richer history.
Sure. Almost like it feels like, at least for me, I'm very early in this adventure, but almost like not creating it, but unveiling it or highlighting it, right? Because it's here, right? But it's just not being highlighted in certain ways. And when you can make, something that is, a piece of where we're at and make it into something beautiful like that makes it a lot more approachable, right? Easier to digest, I guess, no pun intended, but.
and the way you've decorated too captures the spirit. And isn't your mother, she does antique?
So my mom is an antique dealer based in Texas, and so anything, and she goes to things like Round Top, which is this huge city. It basically is an antique city where people come from all over. I mean, it's a city that's like one major like flea market.
Yeah.
And she knows like the places to go to get things. So she found a lot of our beakers for us, a lot of our pictures that are up. So she found, definitely a lot of things for us too. So which is great. Kind of ties mom into the whole picture.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you got to wander around, but I love how each room has its own personality.
Yes.
And you have names for each room, I
we
think,
do.
right?
So we have, and Caroline Van Slyke, she was our interior designer from Boho Farmhouse, and she is so talented and really helped us think through like the furniture and some of the other decor. But we've got one room. We currently call it the bodega room because eventually we're going to be selling, some sundries and things for the neighborhood like ice and our to-go cocktails. So we call that the bodega room, and it's our biggest room that we can reserve for like 8 to 12 people for parties. But each of our rooms, and that's the great thing about being in a house is that you feel like you can be in this one room and have some amount of privacy, but you're also still feel like, you're in the action too. So we've got the bodega room, we've got the botanical room, which has got like a bird cage and some really cool floral wallpaper just in a corner.
Which one is that? Is that when you walk in?
That's the one, as soon as you walk in, to the right. And then to the left, as soon as you walk in, we have our fireplace room. So it's an electric fireplace, so if you do get cold, like today, it'll probably be going.
Surprisingly
so. Right. And then like over the holidays, in a couple of weeks, we'll have, everything decked out and holiday decorations and holiday Christmas trees. And and our Home for the Holidays menu is going to be coming out. So we're excited.
As if I needed another reason to have Jackie come. She loves Christmas. Like my wife loves Christmas.
And you have a dog-friendly patio too, right?
We do.
Nice.
We do have a dog-friendly patio. And again, it kind of ties into making people in the neighborhood feel welcome, and people, can bring their dogs and hang out. It was really great when we had brunch. We will be bringing back brunch, but not quite yet. But it's a great place to bring your dog and hang out on the patio.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to come up with some dog cocktails, but we don't. Dog mocktails.
One day?
Dog tails, yeah, one day.
I'll be happy to help with that. You feed me some of these amazing human cocktails, and I'll bring my dog Charlie down. She'll be happy to test them out. Well, let's back up a little bit. Are you from Texas? Is that where you're from originally?
Yes, so originally
Okay.
from Texas, but then I kind of lived all over. So I grew up, I would say, primarily in Texas, but right before high school, we moved to Kansas City.
Okay.
So I was there for about 8 years, went to high school there, went to University of Kansas, and then I moved to New York City.
What'd you go to University of Kansas for? Like, what was the
Actually,
path?
it was pre-med.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
That
I
was your path.
pre-med.
Like,
Yeah, it
pretty
was.
ironclad. Like that was what you were doing.
No, it was, but I also really loved the entertainment industry, but I
Okay.
was very realistic about it. Like,
Sure.
People who, go to school and graduate, like they always say, you're going to become an actress, and be really famous, or you're going to be a teacher.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So, but with that being said, I was there and I got an opportunity to go to New York City and like work for a talent scout. And I was in the middle of like school and I thought, you know what, I'm going to move to New York City. If I don't do it now, it's one of those things I'll always be saying, what if I had done that? So I did, and I never looked back. So I lived in New York City for 10 years. So
I would
worked
love to have
in.
done that when I was younger.
Oh,
Like,
you
yeah.
have to do it. Like
Yeah.
I
Well, I
recommend.
can't. Not my kids would. They would annoy me the whole time. I'm like, yeah.
I loved. I mean, it was in your 20s, where you
Yeah.
can live like hand to mouth, and you learn.
Oh, I could live in a
Everything's
room
an
the size of a
adventure.
couch.
Being broke
Everything's
is an adventure.
Totally. So I did that for 10 years, worked in the entertainment industry, but throughout the whole time, I was always a bartender
Okay.
to supplement my income.
Oh, you're good.
Am I saying? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was always a bartender to supplement my income. Did that for a little while and really loved bartending. I was one of those
Okay.
geeky bartenders where they just kind of gave me, I could go into the walk-in and do whatever I wanted. And, so customers would come in and say, okay, make me, a summer cloud on a windy day. And I'd be like, okay, we're going to raid the walk-in. And
Yeah.
they kind of let me. And that's kind of where I really started to get into it. And that's when I also met Dale DeGroff and like was inspired by some of the things that he was doing at the Rainbow Room at the time. And that's kind of where
His nickname is King of Cocktails.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dale
okay,
DeGroff
okay.
is like the
He's the guy.
maha. Yeah,
Okay.
the maha.
Like
All
he
right.
brought-
They're giving me everybody at home watching and listening.
Yeah.
They're giving me a 101 on cocktails.
Okay.
I know I enjoy them, but that's about where my knowledge starts. So
Okay.
this guy, what's his name again? Dale
Dale DeGroff.
DeGroff. He's got to be on my list of.
Yeah.
He's credited it a lot for bringing back the old classic cocktails.
Okay.
He-
When at the
he's-
Rainbow
yeah.
Room, right?
At the Rainbow
Yeah.
Room, and he is the one that made the Cosmo famous.
Okay.
So he, and that's I think really, if I had to point to one cocktail that really pushed the needle forward as far as craft cocktails, it would be that time when the Cosmo just exploded. Because
Yeah,
then you-
I
because
know
then
when
you
that
had-
was.
yeah,
Early
you know,
2000s,
yeah.
because that's all me and my girlfriends drank.
Yeah, I mean, it was on, it was on Sex and the City, and that was the first time at the bar when I had guys come in and asking for the Cosmopolitan, and I knew that was a shift because guys always got just the regular mixed drinks or
Jack
maybe a
and Coke,
Manhattan,
maybe,
Jack
yeah.
and Coke,
Yep.
and then they started ordering the Cosmopolitan, and then like you started really getting some.
That's very interesting,
traction.
right? Because
Yeah.
I think it makes it very polarized. It's almost kind of like I don't want to say a joke cocktail, but it's kind of like
Right.
Yeah.
the Cosmopolitan. Oh, you can have a
I
Cosmopolitan.
remember I used to hang out at a upscale steakhouse called Abe
Yeah.
and Louie's in Boston. It's like a Capitol Grill. It's actually where I met Ernesto. But we'd go out, and just down the bar would be a line of Cosmos,
Really?
guys
Yeah.
and women. So
Yeah.
I always think of that era, late 90s.
Late 90s, early 2000s. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And so you this is just when you're kind of dipping your toes into the industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was really fortunate at the time I was really lucky to go to some movie premieres, and I worked for a production company, and so we would go to the Sundance Film Festival and the Toronto Film Festival, and I was always really blown away because I would get to go to all of these parties where there would be, like celebrities and entertainers, and so much money would be spent on these events. The food, the decor, the entertainment, the lighting, but the drinks never really matched the greatness of the event. They were always kind of,
Interesting.
yeah, it was always just kind of like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And I was already kind of a geeky person that loved being, creative behind the bar. And I was like, God, if someone just put a little more creativity into
Yeah.
that, you could really enhance someone's experience tenfold. So I started, I had some friends that were producers, and so they said, "Oh, your drinks are great. Can you help me with the Batman premiere and you do the drinks for it?" I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So they would give me a little bit of a budget, and I would hire like my friend art director, and we would prop out the bar as a Batcave, and the brands.
It must
really,
have been fun for you.
Oh,
too,
so
right?
much fun, so much fun. One of my first big clients was Maxim magazine, and I got to travel the country with them and like do a lot of their big, Super Bowl parties. There was one party in San Diego, and they literally took over. It was a Wonder Bread factory that was defunct, and they literally took over this bread factory and made it a mini city.
Wow.
Inside this bread factory. And so I got to do all the drinks in like the little, Fast Mart, within the city. And like they had a red light district within the city, and they had all these sports bar like within the city. But this was all just one.
Like a
under the one
cocktail
roof
Disney World, right?
Yeah. So we did all
awesome.
of these crazy cocktails, but I also, did it with a fresh perspective and always had used fresh ingredients at the time. And I had a team that was going out doing it. And, I made the brands look really good, because normally if they sponsored an event, they just were used to just dropping off product.
Yeah.
But I actually took their product and like did something creative and created
So
this
smart
menu.
to see this niche and
So
say,
yeah,
I'm
and this
gonna
was like
take care of
nobody.
this.
I mean, now
Opportunity, yeah.
this happens all the time, but you definitely did not see it at the time. So I
Yeah.
got on the radar of a lot of liquor brands and started working directly with them with some consulting and marketing. And after a little while doing that, I started kind of segueing into national accounts. So they would have me do some training and drink development for not just new brands coming out, but also for bartenders and accounts. And I would say now my consultancy is more segued into this working for accounts and opening up bars.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, I'm also kind of help plan like coming up with bars conceptually. Like here's some great concepts for a bar that could open like within a hotel.
And could you share, because I know some of the big names that you've done, so that in your portfolio?
Yeah.
Brag a little, she said.
Yeah, basically that's what I'm saying.
I've done quite a bit of work like for Omni Hotels and PF Chang's, but also Cheesecake Factory, the Papa's Group. So I've done tons of drink development and menu creations. I would say like if you frequent a lot of national accounts, and by national accounts, for people who don't know what that means, it basically means like a chain restaurant or
Like a
hotel.
Chili's, Outback
like a
type of-
Chili's,
okay.
Outback, right? I would say if you frequent those places, at some point over the past 10 years, you probably have tasted one of the drinks that I've done.
That's
I've
incredible.
literally
I know,
done
it
hundreds
is.
of
Yeah.
cocktail menus for national accounts.
I remember you
badass.
did, at PF Chang's, you did a honey one that I remember.
Yeah, it was like a honey gin and tonic
Yeah.
type drink, right? Oh, and we did it was an añejo tequila. honey
Yes,
drink,
that's
right.
what it was.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think what you said, that was a really interesting thing is like, because I don't know like if it was not identified before, but you identified it, is highlighting a specific brand. Let's say like a Maker's Mark or something like that, right? Is that what you were saying? Is like Maker's Mark loved what you were doing, because now instead of in a little plastic cup that you're down in this shot of, not stuff you shouldn't be done. It's not the tastiest thing like that. But if you put it into an incredible cocktail of sorts, that elevates, holy shit, I can do that with Maker's Mark.
Right.
Is that what you were saying? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
And this was
That's
also at a
awesome.
time when, bartenders were still using the sour mix behind the gun, and this whole fresh movement was just starting to happen. Now it's commonplace. I mean, everybody, most people use fresh ingredients, but at the time it was definitely like a novelty to be
Right.
like, what?
Fancy.
Squeeze
Yeah.
lemons and limes. That's crazy talk. Yeah. But at the time it was, we were like hand squeezing, lemons and limes by, the
And that's
the
a lot of
case.
work.
It's
Yes.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
Now there are some great brands out there that do kind of lightly pasteurized juices. There's a lot of different ways to kind of skin that cat now, but
It's pretty incredible when you kind of, pull the curtain back a little bit and you see what goes into handcrafted things, right? We were just up at Teatro in Flagstaff, and they were prepping for the day. And so they were making, there was like 3 guys making pasta, like 3 different types of pasta. And I don't know what the type of pasta was, but it was in some sort of crank. And he would drop down like 3 pieces about an inch long and then use the knife and cut that. And 3 things would fall into the bowl. I'm like, how many times you got to do that? Right? He would turn the thing twice, cut. shake it a little bit, and then I'm like, wow, that's why there's there's a little bit of an elevated price on that. It's a lot of heart and soul, and
it doesn't come shaken out of a box.
Exactly,
right.
and that's why it tastes the way that it does, right?
Right.
So
And then the quality ingredients that go
Yes,
into it too.
Right.
Yeah, I think is it Bianca always says you can't make what was something he would probably say shit or fuck or something, but you can't make a good product out of mediocre
Right.
ingredients,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting because you have to, when you're talking about national accounts, you do have to ride that fine line because of consistency and labor. And so you got to kind of find like this happy medium between, you want to do fresh ingredients, but you also have to understand the realities of that
Sure.
in a big account. So you might have to use something that is I want to say shortcut's not the right word, but you have to use something that's much more economical.
Sure.
To make the numbers work.
Yeah.
And
Which is, I think, an art in itself, being able to do that.
Yeah.
And then I think also that it can't take too much time.
yes. A good analogy that I like to give, I've had quite a few bartenders, over the years say, "Oh, I want to work for, Cheesecake Factory, or I want to do this," and they have really big, grandiose ideas, but not fully realizing that, oh, I just need this, tool, and I'm like, do you realize your suggestion for that one simple tool will cost the company probably $800,000.
Oh,
So
right.
you got to
Yeah.
think about, you got to be able to play in their sandbox. So it's a lot of like, and you got to hang your ego
So
up
no
at the door.
smoke boxes at every big national.
Yeah, but you know what? There's a lot of national accounts that have made some of those kinds of investments to do that, which is amazing. But you just have to have the ability to like, okay, how creative can I be in this sandbox? You know what? I can be pretty creative in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've always been very just always had this creative urge, and my grandmother, she was very much the same, and she owned a restaurant all growing up, right? And it wasn't until recently that talking to my dad, and he's like she didn't understand the business side, because I'm telling him what I'm going through, and I'm like, man, I'm a creative, like this business stuff is new, I'm learning, and I said something about my grandma and her restaurant. He's like, it was Pete that ran the business. And I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, Grandma did the, so I think that's a kind of a thing that you don't look at. I think I see it common in craft beer is you don't kind of think of all the aspects of it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you kind of focused on this one thing. I'm very good at making this beer. Can you market it? Right? Can you get the right people in? Can you, how much are those ingredients? How are you making $1 off of each? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So for you, it sounds like the big piece of this is your knowledge in that consulting side of it to help people. How do you take this creation and make it into a business?
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta. It's so funny. I've never, been so entrenched in the operation side of it and owning your own bar. I mean, you have to be.
Sure.
You absolutely
Yeah.
have to be. So it is definitely a big lesson. And like, I gotta pull back even more. I gotta, you gotta make the numbers work. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, so you were in New York, and you've got all of these really cool things that are happening. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Right? Where does it go from there?
So from New York, I met Kevin, who worked for HBO at the time. He's my husband now, and he's the one that he did this festival in Aspen called the HBO Comedy Festival. And so from there, that's how I got the Maxim client. And then we had this long distance, and then he lived in LA, I lived in New York. And so then the deal was, he came and spent the summer with me one summer, and we thought, if we're still talking to each other at the end of the summer, I'll move out to Los Angeles and live on his boat. He lived on a sailboat in Marina Del Rey. So we did that.
Cool.
Yeah.
I know.
And
Even if we weren't talking, I'd move out to
I
live
know.
in LA
Yeah,
on
exactly.
a
So
sailboat.
if things go south, I still got that room, right?
yeah, no, it was a great experience. And the people are like, how would you live on a boat? It's too small. I'm like, it's actually not that much smaller than my New York City apartment.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Well, probably even.
Cheapest oceanfront property you can get.
Yeah. Well, so what were you doing then once you were there? Like as far as like the.
So that's when I really started to launch, and I actually initially worked for actually an infomercial house called Guthrie Ranker for a little while I really got my chops and like started. I had this amazing boss who like let me kind of do what I wanted to do. And so I got to kind of spent like the next couple of years really starting to ramp up liquid architecture and doing events and working with Maxim. And I got to take off when I needed to. And and eventually got a pretty big consulting request with like Omni Hotels. And then that was kind of the launching pad. So I left that and then started doing liquid architecture full time.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah. So I got to back up a little bit. The infomercial house, like meaning they produced infomercials.
Oh yeah, I worked on the proactive
the name,
line.
right?
Yeah.
So they do all of like some pretty major infomercials. So, but it was a great experience. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I was actually in the beauty industry, and I had zero experience in that. Yeah. But I was really good at I pick up really fast, and I'm a good problem solver. So I could kind of get in where I needed and ask lots of questions and make it happen. But I worked for the proactive line, which is like an acne line. But it was, it was like 400. It was a huge company, but worked on, everything from the manufacturing and quality control and packaging. So you really get to understand the final details and how one little thing can affect one big thing. So it's great. It's actually, it has a lot of applications to it.
I was going to say, it seems like if you have an understanding of how, because the purpose of an infomercial is to sell you something, and they're not lying about it.
No.
The price is at the bottom the whole time, right? So it's like, we're selling you something, you need it, right? So that's the most forward, aggressive, I won't say aggressive, but in a way, right? Aggressive marketing. You got this problem, we got your solution. You scale that back a little bit. That's you can use that same concept here, right?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm not saying doing an infomercial, but it hits the bullet points, right? It educates the person. What is the call to action? What does
the
this
call
help
to action,
with?
the
What
marketing,
is the problem you have that this is going to solve? So
right.
I think I'm onto something. So
now stay tuned for the infomercial following this episode.
Actually, it's so funny. I have to pause this right now for an infomercial. I got to change the battery. So,
real quick message for you guys. If you guys are enjoying today's episode, please leave us a review on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our email newsletter for all of the cool spots to eat and drink around town, as well as upcoming events and fun stuff like that. Also, we've got some brand new merch on our website, including these Thanks for Supporting Local hats and 2 brand new t-shirts. So make sure to check out our website for more. Now back to the podcast.
all right, so we're back from our infomercial break. That was a very well done infomercial. Just kidding, I'm not gonna do one. That'd be really cool though. I'm gonna do one as a spoof somehow. From here, it sounds like a lot of what you've always been about is experience. Like you've said experience a few times, right? And I think that, especially now after COVID, people are a little bit more apprehensive to come out. It's almost like give me more of a reason to come out, because a lot of people are making great drinks at home, right? Yes. They can buy some of the same products and have some fun with it and create their own experience, right? If they're not getting the experience out there, they can make their own experience. So for you, it seems like from day one, it's like create that experience, right?
I think more than ever, people have an expectation to have some kind of an experience.
For
so
sure.
that is really important. So this drink, you just had our
the
Queen
one I
Bee.
just switched with Christina.
Well,
and
that's a simple.
They're both delicious and
really
so
are.
different from each other.
And that's like a simple take on a bee's knees, which has 3 ingredients. But the experience, with a little butterfly on top and the
Is it
bee
edible?
pollen, it is edible.
Okay, I was hoping so. I thought
Yeah,
so.
okay,
Because I
yeah.
really
You
wanted
want
to-
every
I do.
drop.
Yeah, I do.
So you want to just do little things to enhance those experiences. So I feel like our place is able to do that. And so we have a lot of cocktails that have some unique garnishes and are really fun.
Yeah.
And, we also are pivoting into making sure that people can take this experience home with them.
Sure.
So, we just did, we're launching Garden Bar Provisioning.
Okay.
So we just did a big event this past weekend with Noche and Blanco in downtown, and we offered people these nice picnic boxes and these to-go cocktails that were for 4 to 5 people for 5 servings. So we want people, especially over the holidays and any time, to be able to kind of take a great fun experience home with them. So we're going to be doing some things where people can take these cocktail kits home with them that are very easy to do.
Yeah.
We're going to have a holiday essentials bar kit. So you don't know what you should have in your home holiday bar, here's everything that you need.
Yeah.
And here's recipes to follow. So I want to be able to kind of give people some really easy methodologies and tools to also be able to make a great drink at home, because anybody can make a great drink at home.
And I can vouch for that since I've had some of those kits at home. And really, they are so simple. I know during COVID, when Kim kindly hand delivered some cocktails to me at home,
nice.
that you had videos too, which
Yes.
could also walk through people through. So it was just so thoughtful, and everything, it was like you're saying, everything was streamlined, not overly complicated, but the ingredients themselves were where the work was.
Yeah.
Right. So we did, like, for example, the cocktail you're drinking now, we have a chai rye old fashioned made with a hand whisked chai tea, and it has some raisin bitters and has a few other fun things in there. But we make it so we do all like the heavy lifting, and then all you're doing is adding, the rye and this, and you're done over ice. So
But,
and here's the fun garnish.
with somebody with a phone on you, so you're the one being the
Yeah.
That's something I'm learning recently about like marketing in general. There's a guy I really like, his name's Donald Miller, and his whole concept it's story brand, and everything's about story. But he says, as marketing, like if I own a marketing company, it's like I should be the guide, right? You're the hero. Like the customer is the hero. Like I want to guide you, because if I'm the hero and saying, here's what I made for you, then it's like, it's a little different experience. But you're like, hey, here's how you can make this. Go be a hero to your family, right? That's a different experience because
Tagline: Kim makes heroes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. But you do right? Because it's not just it's like the end result is it's about them. Right, it's not about you, right? I mean, it works out great because then they have a great experience and they come back. But you're making them heroes.
You're making them look good. And I think that's kind of my mantra. Even as a consultant, I make other people look good. It's not about me. It's about you.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think if and I think we've all probably watched cocktail videos where even as a seasoned mixologist, I've watched some videos where I feel kind of dumb. I feel like they're kind of telling me this is what you should do or shouldn't do. And I think, but to your point, if you can make someone else the hero, make someone else, empower someone, it's all the better.
For sure. Okay, so I kind of like to go linear, so I'm backing up a little bit. I'm thinking, where were we at? Because you've got a bunch of books as well.
She's on a sailboat in.
Oh yeah, she's on the sailboat. Yes. Okay. We are in the coast of California.
Okay. So the books. So interesting story how those came about. I always had the vision of making a completely different book. I wanted to do like a coffee table book that was called Dessert Martinis, where it would be like really over the top, delicious, like beautiful photography, cocktails. And so I did all the research. I, looked up, I've never written a book proposal, didn't have a literary agent, but did all the research on how to do that, wrote a book proposal, did all the right things, sent it out. And I got a lot of rejection letters and I got one phone call back from, a guy from Distal and Goderich and said, listen, I don't know about the book that you want to write, but we can give it a shot and we'll see what we can do. And so a week later,
go ahead.
And so a week later, he called me and said, I have a potential opportunity for this publisher that is looking for an author to, this publisher does a lot of books for like Sur La Table and Crate and Barrel, where they want books to position with some of their wares. So like their margarita glassware or their, and they're looking for an author to kind of write this series. And, would you want to do that? And I was like, of course I want to do that. So that's how that came about. And like two books actually ended up being 8, down the road. So we did 101 margaritas, 101 martinis, 101 champagne cocktails, 101 sangrias and punch drinks.
Tropical drinks.
101 tropical drinks.
That's the one I use the most.
101 mojitos and muddle drinks, 101 shots, and 101... Yeah, I think the tropical drinks is like the last one. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And actually the shot one's really interesting.
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
I have that too.
But my whole philosophy, even when writing those, never really wavered. And I always wanted to use, fresh ingredients. So I would go to my produce market, farmer's market, find fresh ingredients and build a margarita around that or build a punch around that.
Nice.
But, yeah.
So here's what I was going to ask. Well, what didn't anybody like about the dessert martini idea?
I think maybe now they would go for
Okay.
it, but I think then it was probably a little like too outside the box.
A little like, that's cool, but there's no
That
way.
is so-
I'm not-
yeah.
yeah. Okay. But we're now, okay, I see what you're saying. But it worked out great.
It worked out great.
Yeah.
Now she has 800 recipes in your books, right?
And when are you going to write the dessert martini one now that you
Oh, maybe I should.
Keep it back.
I think if I was going to write another book, it would be probably like my experience here.
Okay.
And like,
Yeah.
how to create really creative drinks in a really simple way.
Yeah.
And kind of take a lot of the intimidation out. So I'd probably do a lot of kind of more local. Yeah, it'd be a more local like garden bar book.
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah. So you did those 8 books, and then more after that, or was that the
No, and then I've done a lot of contributions
Okay.
to various magazines and newspapers. But 8 was. Yeah.
You hit your limit.
Books,
You
yeah.
hit almost like your own place, right? It's like, all right, I hit my limit, but I
Yeah.
could probably do one about this,
I'm
right?
ready for another one.
Yeah, I love it. Luke, my business partner, is a very good photographer. So if you ever want to take beautiful photos, I'm a very
Yeah.
good drinker, like as you can see.
So if you want anybody to drink,
Exactly. Yeah. And what about the years leading up to opening up this place, right? So you're writing, you're consulting. You had mentioned a lab.
So we started, we call it the Cocktail Collaborative.
Okay.
And it was made to be, and this is before we opened up garden bars. This is like between 2017 and before the pandemic, for a couple of years. So Rattle and Rum had their office out, which I was involved with for a little while, a local cocktail catering group. And, I wanted people to come in and just use the space. So
Yeah.
we had, a portable bar, and so we had some drink development. So brands would come in, and I really wanted to, the thought process was there's a lot of cities that have a lot of kitchens that anybody can use. You go in and you pay something, but there was nothing like that for the bar.
Okay.
There is no place where you can go in and, often for bartenders that want to do drink development or practice for competitions, they're kind of doing that on their own dime.
Okay.
Or, if their boss lets them, they can get ingredients through their bar, but they don't have a lot of access to resources. So I wanted
Gotcha.
to be a space where, we could be this kind of creative, collaborative space where bartenders could come in and practice for competitions and do drink development for their own projects if they wanted to.
Yeah. And that was this building.
That was this
before it
building,
became
right,
Garden Bar.
before.
Yeah.
And then when we opened, I've kind of kept that going, and we've done some educational things throughout the year. We're going to be launching some more things too, where, everything, and it's also open to consumers or enthusiasts.
Okay.
So we did, for example, a big Derby Day party where we coupled it with a class called the Artistry of the Julep. So I had a florist come in, and I talked about kind of the history and the technique of making them at julep, and she talked about, hey, here's how to decorate it. Here's what I would do with flowers.
Yeah.
And so we, everybody got to take home and make their own julep.
Experience.
Yeah.
Again, right?
So the
Yeah.
experience, right? So it's kind of tying in some education, tying in some fun,
Yeah.
tying in the experiential nature of it too, and having a good time.
Yeah. Do you ever have an actual lab? Right. Because I think of breweries where they're putting stuff under microscopes.
well, there are
right?
beakers here.
We do have some beakers, yeah. Some things do require like a lot of those precise measurements,
Okay.
especially if you're like clarifying things or
Gotcha.
Yeah. But
And
yeah.
you do a lot of private events too, like showers and
Yeah, we do actually have a
parties.
couple of like weddings coming up here. We're not really. I mean, we are, especially over the holidays. We are getting a lot of requests to do holiday parties, and
Okay.
so that's for sure ramping up.
And we just did a tasting panel event
Yeah.
here, which was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where we had, I think, 10 bartenders making drinks and educating on the spirit and the brand. So it was the perfect venue for it.
Thanks. And we have a big screen. You can't see it. It's up in the ceiling, but a screen that comes down behind the bar, so we can stream or show some video presentations on there too.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we do one presentation here. I work with the National Honey Board quite a bit. And I have this presentation called The Beekeeper's Notebook, which we really get into some fun detail about how honey is made,
Yeah.
from bee to bottle. What happens in the hive, the role bees play within the hive, the role bees play in agriculture. And we
Field
get into
trip?
detail.
Yeah, I'm in,
You know
I'm
what?
in, yeah.
I've already talked to, we get our honey from a local beekeeper Bridal Yard Bee Path, which is just
Okay.
a couple miles down the road. And we're going to be doing something with him where I do the presentation, and then we take a trip and actually get to harvest some of the honey.
Ooh, nice.
And turn it into a drink, and you get to take it home. So yeah, look for that in the spring.
Yeah. Do you have anybody that join along to take like video and stuff like that? If you need somebody.
Yeah.
Let us know.
All
Let us
right.
know, yeah.
I will definitely let
Yeah.
you know.
And
Yeah.
you have a local honey in your
Yes.
drink, right?
So this is actually his honey. So we have we're using our Palo Verde honey, but we're just not finishing it. So we won't have that, but he just harvested this autumn harvest honey. It is so stinking delicious. It is so good. It is. It's rich. It's kind of like has caramel notes to it. It's beautiful.
We'll have to come back for another one of
Yeah.
those cocktails when you implement that.
Yeah, we're using it in little sneak peek. One of our cocktails for our Home for the Holidays menu is going to be like this brown butter old fashioned. So we're using this autumn harvest honey and a brown butter tincture. Oh, it's so good.
Dang. If you have another tasting panel, and you need
Okay,
another,
yeah.
another person on the panel, I'm here. Now, Bartenders Guild as well, right? You're involved with the Bartenders Guild.
Yes,
Arizona.
yes. So I've been involved with the USBG for a long time. It stands for United States Bartenders Guild. They have been around we're actually going to be celebrating our 75th anniversary next year.
Wow.
Been around for a long time. So,
And I should add that even if you're not in the industry, you can join as an enthusiast.
Yeah.
And you get invited to classes. I did a lot of those when I had more time.
Yeah.
But the seminars are great. I remember one I did at the Ostrich with fortified, with cognacs and fortified sherries. And
okay.
it was
Yes.
fascinating.
It's such a great organization to be involved with if you are, and it doesn't, all types of bartenders, whether you're a super crafty, geeky bartender or you're a dive bar bartender or, a Chili's bartender, it doesn't matter. So we, is welcoming to all types, and there's something for everybody. But I heavily involved with that. I used to be the Phoenix president, and then I later on got involved with the national organization and was the president for a term.
Wow.
I'm still on the national board of directors,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a great organization. Highly recommend it.
So what does a guild do exactly, right? Like what is, because I know there's Arizona Craft Brewers Guild, the beer guild, but what does the Bartenders Guild?
It's really locally driven.
Okay.
So every chapter is going to have like their own priorities. Some
Okay.
chapters are very focused on competitions.
Gotcha.
Other chapters might be more focused on like education and fun events and networking. But I would say overall, the vision is really about education and pulling together as a community.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
giving people the resources they might need. Another part of this too is there is a charity attached, the USBG National Charity Foundation.
Okay.
I'm on the board of that too, and it is such a wonderful charity. They have the Bartender Emergency Assistance Program, which gives grants to bartenders in need. As a bartender and working with so many over the past 20 years, a lot of them go into bartending not as a career choice, but as a means to an end.
Sure.
And they don't have, a lot of restaurants don't offer insurance. And so
Yeah.
if an accident happens and you can't go to work, you are kind of screwed, so
Yeah.
you need that extra hand to help with some of those grants. So over the pandemic, we gave out about $10 million in grants.
Wow, that's awesome.
To people who,
Yeah.
who needed food, who needed,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
some
think you
emergency
even had
assistance.
pickups where you did bags of groceries
Yes.
for bartenders out of
Nice.
work and
Yep.
everything.
Here the local Phoenix chapter did some amazing things with like different food bags, and people could pick them up. So that was great.
Yeah. That's really cool because it's the service industry is one of those things where my wife and I both had time in like it was prison stints in service, right? But we really appreciate it. I saw my grandmother's restaurant, so I was, even when I wasn't working in it, I was observing it, and we both have just such huge value on the impact the service industry has on people, positive impact, right? Of dealing with, all kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
It's, but I think sometimes it gets unthanked. I guess it's unappreciated.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like they're in the back of the house, and maybe the chef gets he gets to go on the front of the patio and get a picture taken, or the brewer, but the
Yeah.
people, dishwashers, and people that are back here doing the hard work, it's a lot.
And I think that is, I mean, you've really pinpointed the reason why there's been such this mass exodus
Sure.
out of the service industry, because nobody really wants to go and work that hard and not be appreciated.
Yeah.
So that's so rates have gone up, and I think it's been coming for a while.
Yeah.
So, here at Garden Bar, we've done some interesting things and trying to kind of retool kind of throughout the rule book as far as, the roles that you need. And we are all a team. We all wear all of the hats.
Yeah.
Nobody complains about having to take out the garbage. It's not someone's position. You just get it done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody gets paid a little higher rate. And everybody, including back of house and the dishwasher and the kitchen, also get to participate in the tip pool. So
Yeah.
it's a much more shared responsibility, and that
Yeah.
you're all on the same team. So if somebody is, slacking or makes a mistake, it kind of hurts everybody, so you're kind of building this culture where, everybody wants it to be a success.
And you think that's kind of the future of like
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Almost like a real back, like it's like myself with all the creative ideas and stuff that I have. It's good. All these ideas I have, and I want to do all of these things, but it's like, I need to reel back a little bit, and maybe we don't need 20 people to execute this, right? If we
Right.
have 12 of the right people, then we can do it. Right.
Right.
You need to.
Did you have a question?
With Action Wine, I have a delivery.
Oh, okay.
Is there like a back gate?
Oh, you can come. Why don't you come through here? It's just wine delivery?
Just 2 cases,
Oh,
yes.
3 cases? Yeah, you can come on through. Okay.
We're wrapping up here soon. I
Okay.
know you got to
Okay.
get rolling. So,
Life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
well, I just feel like we've just uncovered like 10% of who Kim is. This has been great, and I was very excited about this episode. To be honest with you, I think Abel from Mezcal Cranial was the first one that was
Okay.
talking about you,
nice.
talking you up. So,
sweet.
so I'm glad we were able to do this. I know you got a busy day, so we'll wrap this one up. But if you ever want to kind of do an education series
I would
or
love
something,
to come back. Like
Yeah.
we could. I mean, any of the topics we talked about, we could go deep.
yeah,
Right, right.
I'm in. If you keep, and what was I got to ask you? What was the butterfly made of?
It's a rice paper butterfly.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it was I'm used to if I see something like that, it's usually like an edible flower or something,
Okay,
right? That's a little
yeah.
thinner. That was
Okay.
it had a little bit more texture to it. I liked it. I was like, dang,
Okay.
this is like another added level experience.
Dimension.
Yeah, no, I dig it. So nice work with this place and all that you do.
Thanks so much. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
Absolutely,
I really appreciate it.
Real quick, how do people find you? Like, what's the best way to kind of find out what?
So if you come to Garden Bar, I would
Yeah.
go to, you could follow us on Instagram.
Okay.
So at Garden Bar Phoenix, all
Okay.
spelled out, or our website, gardenbarphx.com. So you can make reservations directly from there. You can find out events that are coming up, our menu, all of the above. And I have my own personal Instagram at khasarud.
Okay.
But, yeah. But
Sound it out, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. At KHAASARUD. Yeah.
I knew I could
know.
hear the 2 A's, right? There's a Mitch Hedberg joke.
Yeah.
He's like, I had a girlfriend named Jen, Jen, and then
Okay.
I used to call my next girlfriend by the wrong name because it was Jen with 2 N's. And she could tell the difference. He said it a lot better than I did. I might cut that part out. But no, Kim, thank you so much for having us in. Great drinks. Christina, thank you for connecting us with Kim and just all that you do.
Well, it's I'm so proud that Phoenix has somebody like Kim who's
Yeah.
done so much, and I learned a lot about how far back your history goes and your
thanks.
brilliance early on.
Oh no, please! I love this Phoenix community, and I got to say, opening up your own bar. I've lived here for 10 years, but I felt connected to the Phoenix community, but not like I do now. There's something about when you have like a business in downtown, and it really connects you to so many more people. And like, I'm super excited and like so honored to be part of the community here. And I couldn't be happier.
Awesome. Well, this is Episodes with Kim, episode 1 of, Thank you, Kim.
All right, thank you.